Hey travelers, Mag here, coming at you from Wakayama. And this morning, Wildkatco is hosting an event to bring out the local geocachers in the area. This is an opportunity to get to show you a little bit of Wakayama. I've taken the ferry in from Tokushima, about a 2.5 hour ride, and now I have the entire day to get to explore this city, and I am going to use the entire day. First, we're gonna head up into the Wakayama Castle. After that, we're gonna go explore the city. So let's get out there and see what Wakayama has in store for us today. Come on, let's go. The history of Wakayama Castle can be traced all the way back to the year 1585. Located on the bay at the southernmost tip of Japan's main island of Honshu, it was recognized that control of this region was of vital importance. It was then, near the end of the 16th century, when Hashiba Hideyoshi ordered his younger brother Hidinaga to construct a castle on top of Mount Okayama. Construction of the castle was overseen by Todo Takatora, who would later become known as an expert castle builder. During their time, construction and improvements focused exclusively on the mountaintop and Okaguchi area. As with so many other castles in this part of Japan, great changes followed in the wake of the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600. At that time, Asano Yoshinaga took control of the castle with a different vision for its future. He created a series of interconnected towers, paneling the entire castle in black. He oversaw construction of the Ninomaro and the Nishinomaro as part of the Lord's Castle. He also shifted the castle's main gate from the Okuguchi-mon to the Ichinohashi-mon, moving the castle town out in a grid-like pattern from there. Each new leader who took control of the castle recognized its importance and continued upon its expansion. In 1619, Yorinobu, the 10th son of Tokugawa Ieyasu, came into the castle and immediately began improving upon the baileys. Under his supervision, the Ninomaro Bailey on the west end grew significantly, while the Minominaro and the Sunonomaro Baileys were integrated into Inner Bailey, bringing the castle much closer to the shape we recognize today. Minor and major changes alike continued to occur through the next 2 centuries until a disaster occurred in 1846. A bolt of lightning striking the castle led to the better part of the structures being burned to the ground. Because of its special status, it was granted a permit that allowed many of the buildings to be reconstructed. Unfortunately, many of those buildings were quickly pulled down again when the Meiji government ordered destruction of castles across the country. Now, would you look at that? We've got ourselves a convenient 3D map of the trails we're about to walk to go find the geocaches all around the castle grounds. A keen-eyed observer will likely have noticed by now that the building materials used to construct the inside of the castle are far more modern than those employed during the latter half of the 16th century or even in the early part of the 20th century. That is because only very few parts of the original castle survived the years, including the 2 original gates, one of which, the Okaguchi Gate, was designated as a national cultural property in 1957. That is because the rest of it, that which survived the fire caused by the lightning and the destruction of the castles ordered by the Meiji government, was destroyed during the bombing of Wakayama in World War II. In the wake of the war, the citizens of Wakayama banded together to reconstruct this national treasure. Great care was put into the details of both capturing its original design and the expansions that had occurred throughout the years. To mitigate the potential risk for fire that had already taken it twice in the past, the entire structure was built in reinforced concrete, a worthwhile deviation from the design of old to ensure that this national treasure is preserved for future generations. And as I prepare to set out on foot to explore the city of Wakayama laid out before me, it only makes sense to begin the journey here at Wakayama Castle, where it all began. I can't help but to think what this view might have looked like in the early 1600s when this castle was first erected. I wonder if Todo Takatora ever imagined it like this. As always, my favorite part of any castle tour is the observation deck. Now we get a full view out over Wakayama, the city we're about to go explore, on foot. It doesn't seem all that big on the map, but looking at it from up here, that's a lot of city to explore. Let's do this. And on our way out into the city, we first get to explore the castle grounds in the company of the event crew, passing on our way out through the Okuguchi-mon Gate, constructed in 1621. Man, every time I see a geocache listing that indicates I'm searching a stone wall, my hackles raise, because you know these hiding spots offer a ton of places to check. The thing is, to always be systematic about it and search area by area. And these walls are a little easier because they actually have lines that run parallel. And eventually, you'll be successful and come up with the prize you're seeking. It may have taken a while to find this, but it feels good once you do. It is no accident that there is no such thing as a direct approach to or from the castle. As with every other castle we have visited across Japan so far, the walkways zigzag their way toward the goal. These often confusing paths were designed this way intentionally to give the defenders plenty of opportunity to prevent attackers from reaching the castle. By this point, I've come to expect there's simply no other way to get to any castle anywhere here in this country than by climbing a lot of stairs. Knowing that up front is good because, once again, it's quite a long way up. Over the Ichi-no-Hashi Bridge, we crossed through the Otoman Gate, which became the main entrance to the castle during the Osano period. Down below us, we hear the laughter of children and spy the Mina Monaro Bailey, which has been converted into a small zoo and is freely accessible to the public. We are on our way to go find a multi-cache and the other geocaches here around the castle.
Yeah.
We are here with Kiyo.
Yes.
And Kiyo has been geocaching. How many years?
I've been geocache from 2014.
2014.
Yeah.
So 10 years.
Yeah.
How many geocaches?
1600.
So for those of you who found tens of thousands of geocaches, let me explain right now. In Japan, 1600,
Yeah.
that's a lot of geocaches.
No, not so much. There are more heavy geocache we have in Japan.
But you're probably up there in the numbers for this country. What's your favorite kind of geocache? Multi, traditional, earth cache?
Maybe I mainly find traditional geocache. The reason of the cache was set is important, I think. The place of the cache is set is very special, I think. The cache owner think that this place will be the valuable for other geocacher to find and visit that place. So I think that's kind of the traditional cache I like.
I agree 100%. I always say geocaching is a local's tour of the area.
Yeah,
it's about the place.
That's not in the guidebook.
That's not in the guidebook.
Yes.
Now, this castle, of course, is in the guidebook, but the places around the castle are not.
Yeah.
So we see those little small places that other people pass right by. Well, Kiyo, it was very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And it has been my pleasure to geocache with you today. As we close in on the ground zero, Wildkatco immediately gets to work searching for the hide. A little bit of teamwork goes a long way. That's how you defeat a stone wall. Yes! It is a rare pleasure to get to look for a geocache with the owner right there, smiling at you, watching you look for it. We were committed to this one because he had just maintained it, so he knew it was there. And look at that fresh, clean logbook. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. When we reach the exterior gate of the castle, looking out into the city of Wakayama, we know our time exploring the grounds has almost come to an end. Just one more hide between us and getting out to explore the city. You really gotta love these stone walls. But teamwork makes the dream work, and with two of us out here searching, we took what could be a long endeavor and turned it into a very short hunt for the prize. In the company of Wildkatco, thanks to her very skilled geocaching eyes, we were able to track down every single listing here on the castle grounds.
Discerning.
Good word, I like that. So, we've gotten to tour the castle, we've gotten to find all the geocaches. Now it's time to find out what the rest of the city has in store. Thank you for making all those finds for me.
And thank you for making the finds for me.
Yes.
It was fun, thank you.
Sure. As the capital of Wakayama Prefecture, the city of Wakayama boasts a population of more than 350,000 people. Covering an area of just a little more than 80 square miles, there is quite a bit of ground to cover in our trip through Wakayama today. The name of the city is derived from both its history and location. It rests along a stretch of Wakaru Bay and under the shade of Okayama, where Wakayama Castle resides. Thus, we have Waka Bay and Yama Mountain, Wakayama. Sometimes making the find requires a little bit of skill. Sometimes it requires a little bit of luck, and sometimes it requires the perfect combination of the two to come up with the find. I'm in no particular hurry and have no specific course in mind, so each time I come up to an intersection, I look around both streets and decide which way looks more scenic. Look at that. We are rolling through these geocaches this morning, having tons of fun in Wakayama. My path, chosen mostly at random as I wend my way between the geocaches, brings me into the Misono shopping district. Normally, coming into the early afternoon hours, I'm used to seeing a shopping district like this hustling and bustling, so I'm surprised to see absolutely no one about. Apparently, shopping in this district has a bit more of a nightlife than I'm used to seeing. It is a darn shame this one is closed right now, because I could really go for a manicure right here at the Orion Nail Salon. Perhaps on my next visit to the town. Spotting this relatively new monument, looking out over the river, I do a little bit of digging and discover the Wakayama Blues, sung by Kiyo and Magiconion, a melody that'll carry you away. I am definitely getting a kick out of Wakayama so far, because, yeah, I found a few of the more standard regular hides, but there's also been a few here that are a little outside the box. That was a tough find right there. Oftentimes in this game, we are most concerned with the X and Y axis, the north, south, east, and west. But don't forget that that Z axis plays a critical role in going up or down. Now remember, when you're out there looking for the geocache, don't be afraid sometimes to take the road less traveled, because that might just be where the prize you seek is waiting for you. Whenever you approach a main section of track near a station, the route can get a little bit confusing. I end up having to take a bit of a long way around, which brings me through Otadayan Park. I only briefly wish that I were behind the wheel, because then I'm quickly reminded of just how much of a hassle parking in a city like this can be. It's tough to say whether I spotted this geocache first, or if it spotted me first. Pretty much every crosswalk you come across in the city is going to be automatic. You stand there at the light, the little red guy turns green. But only on very rare occasions do you come across these ones where you actually have to push the button or siete kudasai. Omachi kudasai. That means wait a moment, and there we go, green light. I next come across the Hinokuma Shrine and the Kunikakasu Shrine, collectively known as Nichi-Zengu. Astonishingly, this is one of the oldest shrines in the country, dating well back into the 8th century. It also has ties to the Nihon Shoki, known as the Chronicles of Japan. It is the second oldest book discussing classical Japanese history, and more elaborate and detailed than the oldest book, the Kojiki. The Yada no Kagami is a sacred bronze mirror housed within the Ise Grand Shrine. According to the Nihon Shoki, Ishikori Dome no Mikoto cast a mirror even before the Yada no Kagami, and it is hidden here, somewhere in the Hinokuma Shrine. One thing that doesn't always come across very well in these videos, but is certainly worth pointing out here, is the sound. Just listen to the sounds of the birds chirping in the woods. Thing of beauty, isn't it? Out of the woods and back on the streets, the journey through Wakayama continues, step by step. This ground zero offers us 3 distinct possibilities to refuel our energy. We can drop some yen in, get something to drink, perhaps get a little bit of a snack, or we can just drop down a little bit lower and find a geocache. This is the one that always gets me the most energetic. And indeed, stamping my name on that logbook gives me that little bit of boost I need to continue ever onward. I continue to enjoy the new sights all around me as I close in on the next hide. This one is surprisingly listed as a regular, which we've established is not at all common here in Japan. So fingers crossed. What do we have here? Oh yes! This thing is full of swag. Let's take a look. Got my handy dandy stamp on the log right there. We got some not real yen. Don't think that's the real deal there. A little eraser, not bad. Cool. There are quite a few geocaches to be found leading out of Wakayama and into the mountains. So, with nothing else pressing my time, I continue following my way from one listing to the next. I have managed to geocache my way all the way out of the main city itself into the smaller suburban areas on the outskirts to where you see rice fields. But there's a line of geocaches that's just going to keep me walking down the road from one find to the next, and so I'm going to keep going until time runs out. And there are some pretty obvious indicators that I've managed to work my way out far from the center of the city. Far enough out here, in fact, that we've gone from the big trains that move through the city with a ton of cars to move a lot of people, to just these little small commuter trains that you're more used to seeing in the countryside. And that's it, just a couple of cars on that thing. And by this point, that is the maximum size on any train I see. No more than 2 or 3 cars tops. We have found a fair amount of guardrails walking here on the outskirts, but it's nice when every now and then you come across something just a little bit different. Rice fields are now dominating my view to the left and right and dictate which roads I can take. Sometimes I'm even able to spot my ground zero from a long way off, clear across the field. I kind of get excited every time I see one of these post boxes near ground zero because they are so frequently the hiding place for a magnetic key holder. Win! At this point, I'm following along the edge of the Water River, crossing over from one side to the next using the bridges when I spot an interesting set of roads off to one side. As it turns out, that is a driving course to test new drivers for their licenses and looks like a great place to tear up the tracks. Yep, it's definitely starting to be a trend. Come up on a white guardrail and then just dive in for another quick find. I love the fact that these guardrails are interspersed with lots of other geocache types. That gives me a lot of diversity to my day and a lot of logbooks to sign. Each time I spot one of these white guardrails coming up on a ground zero, I immediately hone in on the prize. They are keeping me motivated to move forward in pursuit of the next listing. This is definitely one of those moments where close is not close enough. I am within about 3 to 4 meters of the hide. Unfortunately, looks like it's right over there on that guardrail. And as you can see, that is non-accessible to me. I'm not gonna be able to cross over that track, nor am I gonna be able to cross over this little waterway here. So it looks like a long walk around to cover those last 3 meters or so. And just as I suspected, being on the correct side of the track makes all the difference in the world. I don't necessarily have to cross the river between each geocache, but looking ahead on the satellite imagery, if I know there are a set of bridges between me and there, I do exactly that, just to mix it up a bit. Classic guardrail, time and patience. Meanie. Meanie. Looks like we got Miney and Mo waiting for us right here. Fear not though, because guardrail hides are not the only thing to be found out here. They actually seem to comprise a little less than every other ground zero out here, which gives me a good mix of caches to find between. Now, let's dive right in there and wrestle this one free of its hiding place. Variety is definitely the spice of life when it comes to finding geocaches. And just like that, my course along the Water River dries up all at once, and I find myself moving down dirt tracks between the rice fields. It is at this point that the seemingly small gap from one geocache to the next actually becomes quite significant. I find I'm having to take the long way around each field and wrap back into the ground zero. It's just so darn peaceful out here out in the main downtown area. At any point in time, I could turn around and start heading back, and I'm probably gonna have to soon, but just a little bit further. You know how this game goes. So I target the next geocache down the road and make the decision. This is going to be it. One last find. Taking a look at the map, I realize I am a little more than 8 miles out from the ferry terminal, and that's a straight line distance. It's a long walk back to enjoy the sunset and think on the day spent in Wakayama. All right, it looks like that is going to wrap up a full day spent geocaching here in Wakayama. And when I say full day, I mean a full day. I got off the ferry just after sunrise and made my way to Wakayama Castle, where we met up with several geocachers at an event hosted by Wildkatco and walked our way completely around the castle twice over, locating all the geocaches. After that, I made my way to the downtown area and continued to follow the geocaches all the way to the outskirts, walking the better part of 30 kilometers and finding several dozen geocaches along the way. It has been an amazing tour, and it has been a great time getting to see Wakayama, and I hope you have enjoyed the journey along with me. The sun is sinking quickly now, and it's time for me to hightail it back to the ferry so I can make it across the water and back home again. Thank you guys for joining me. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and I'll see you out on the trails.